kind of like a weird day today. It seemed like everything was crashing and burning, and then for some reason, the end of the day, everything kind of turned around. Is there anything like macro wise that you felt like, um, incentivizes that turnaround?
Yeah, sometimes I wouldn't say like necessarily like anything major that probably caused that turnaround. I know that we get CPI data. Also what next week we get the Fed's decision on the rate hike. So I think right now the market's just going to be volatile going into that. Because I know now there's some people saying, okay, the Fed's not going to hike. There's some people saying the Fed will hike. So I think the market's kind of having trouble pricing. And some people say it's already priced in, but I don't think. I heard one guy say 7 rate hikes are already priced in. I just thought that was absolutely fucking ludicrous. But so I just think it's the market trying to, price everything right now. So I think that IV is going to be high, probably relatively into that rate hike. And I think if the Fed does raise, whether it's 25 or 50 basis points, I think the market will probably get hit again. Because I really don't think anybody's honestly ready for that.
So do you think that they're well? I mean, I don't know. My opinion is that they're going to raise it 25 bips, and then they're going to see the negative effect on the market. Then they'll probably drop it back down. Do you kind of have I know predictions or whatever, but do you kind of have an initial thought on what you think that they might do, or like kind of an inclination? Because I think pre this conflict between Russia and Ukraine, the war that's going on, it seemed almost like a certainty that they were going to raise rates, and now it kind of seems like the opposite.
I think they'll raise, and the reason is just because of foreign direct investment. I mean, you've seen relatively decent auctions over the past, like I would say, probably 2 weeks in terms of demand for treasuries from outside sources. So I think the Fed's got to be able to balance that, and then also you have to be able to balance just general foreign direct investment, not necessarily in the debt markets, but also in just capital, fleeing to the U.S. as a flight to safety. So I think the Fed has to do something. So I think they'll probably do one. And I think it'll probably be done after that. I don't think that they'll be able to get 7 rate hikes in. I don't think anybody would be able to really do 7 rate hikes broadly. So I think if anybody could do it, it would be the Fed from a global standpoint. But I still don't think they'll do it. I think it'll be one, and that'll kind of just be it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Do you think that the Fed will kind of, I don't know, take a look at what other countries are doing? I know we just saw Canada raise rates. I can't remember exactly. I know I see Wedge in the crowd. Maybe he knows, but
Yeah, 25 bips.
yeah, yeah. So, do you think like that kind of influences them on how much they're going to raise, or if they're going to raise at all?
Canada, no. As my good friend Abe would say, and I know Bill's here; he's also in Canada. But Abe has always said, Canada is not a hair on the donkey's ass in terms of the global economy. So I don't really think the Fed cares too much about what Canada does. Um, but Canada actually, from a corporate solvency standpoint, is in a worse position to raise rates, and obviously with everything being tied to housing, any variable that affects housing. I know people say, well, they're stress tested at what is it, 5.25%, but there's a lot of other variables that go into stress tests, and I don't necessarily think they're an accurate assumption of how well people could be or withstand interest rate hikes. So I think that broadly, I think the Bank of Canada will actually probably end up looking at what the Fed does, and then their next decision will be based off that. I think the Fed will do one, and I don't think if the Fed comes out after that is hawkish, I think the Bank of Canada will probably step off the throttle also. And then Europe will never raise rates. They're just, I think they'll be at zero for eternity.
Yeah, I think they're kind of, I don't know. There's no way for Europe to get back and raise rates, especially like the way things are going over there right now too. So, Bill, welcome. We were just kind of talking about Canada, your great home nation, raising the rates 25 bips to see if that'll affect anything. Deer Point says that. What was the quote that you said? I want to make sure that Bill heard it.
Oh yeah, Abe, I think Bill's heard Abe say it, but yeah, Canada's not a hair on the donkey's ass in terms of the global economy. But
Amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking strictly Bank of Canada or the Fed?
We were saying, like, would the Bank of Canada raise like 7?
Sorry, dear, you cut out.
Oh, we were just talking if the Bank of Canada would follow through, and if you think, or if the Fed's decision would influence other central banks to raise, or other central banks would influence the Fed.
I think the Fed's kind of on an island. I think they're going to raise, and they're going to keep raising pretty much every meeting.
Yeah, so I think this is interesting here. So because me and Deer Point kind of feel, I feel like we kind of talk about this a little bit every time, but we're gonna, there's gonna be one raise, and then they'll probably take it down because of the negative effects it's gonna have on the overall market. But yeah, I think it'll be this next week is going to be pretty interesting. They're going to I think next week, right? They release the CPI numbers for the month of February as well, right?
Yeah, I don't know the exact date, but it's either this week or next. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's like sometime next week, and I think I think it's gonna just keep increasing. They're not gonna be able to find a way to show that number to keep going down like month over month. So um, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how the market reacts to potentially
I
you know.
I think the market. I think they've got the all clear though. I mean, think about it from their end, right? I'm not to say that the Fed's political, but if they were worried, the market's already getting trashed by global events, and if there's inflation, they could do like Biden and just blame Russia. So I think they're quite worried about inflation, actually. And I think they've made up their mind that they're just going to keep going. And I don't think they worry about inversion. I don't think they're worried about the stock market. I think they're going to be looking at every CPI print, and I think they're just going to keep going until those CPI prints moderate.
So you think the conflict with Russia is kind of, I don't know, I don't want to say like convenient timing, but kind of convenient timing for them where they could essentially just use that. I mean, because we've already had Jen Psaki come out and say, the gas and oil prices aren't because of anything the president is doing. It's because of the Russian-Ukraine conflict.
Yeah, in that regard, I think they just got a get out of jail free card to just keep going.
Dear Point, what do you think about that?
That's where it's hard. I mean, I don't know. I haven't really developed an opinion on that yet, honestly, because it's such a hard thing to say with conviction.
I think it's clear, dear. No Fed chairman wants to see CPI prints at the 7% range. That's just impossible to accept. So I know we all, because we're in the market, we worry about, the 2s, 10s spread. Look at that. It's almost, kiff. What's going to happen to the markets? I think the Fed is in a different place right now. I think they are realizing that they've let this get out of hand. And I think they feel, I mean, even the Dubs are talking hawkish, right? Now, you could say maybe that's just political. They're trying to talk it down. But I think the talking part is over because I think they realize that events have sort of overtaken them. So, I think they, I was impressed with something Powell said at one of his hearings last week where he said, something to the effect of like, Volcker caused a recession. Are you afraid of causing a recession? and basically and avoid fighting inflation. And he said, I hope that's not what's said of me, when I'm done. So in other words, he's basically saying, I'm not worried about the recession. I'm worried about inflation, and that's what I have to do. Plus, the reality is, I know we're in the market, so we worry about, the stock market's going down, oil prices are going up. Those are all important, but I think from their perspective, they're looking at domestic economy, and it's very strong, right? Like, to me, the early indicator always of a recession in the U.S. is what's happening to tax revenues. It's the number one indicator, right? Every recession, tax revenues fall. They're booming. So I think they've got cover. I really do. I think on all fronts that they're just going to keep going. And we'll see if this inversion of the yield curve matters or not, because I think they're going to push it. But that's just my opinion.